Update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my parents care for my son who they adopted? Original post. I am an oops baby. My parents had me when they were in their early 40s. I got pregnant while I was in university. I probably can't write here why I didn't want it, but suffice to say I didn't have a choice in the matter. I wanted to not be pregnant, but my parents said they would cut off all aid to me if I did that. So I carried it to term. Then I wanted to put the child up for adoption or drop him at a fire station or something. I was not in a good place. My parents insisted on adopting him, so he is legally my brother. I do not hate him, but he is a reminder of something terrible that happened to me. I now go back home as little as possible, maybe 2 days a year. I've graduated and I have a life far away from my parents. My brother is 12 now and he is not well behaved. My parents are now in their 70s and are having a crappy retirement. They have to dedicate all their time to him. They can't take the vacations they planned. They won't downsize to a condo, so they still have yard work and other responsibilities that he will not help with. None of my actual siblings will watch him to give them a break. They reached out to me for help. I said no. I said that he's their son and their responsibility. They think I'm being cruel for forcing them to do everything after they helped me so much. It took everything I had in me not to curse them out. Some of my relatives have reached out to me to ask why I refuse to help fix the mess I made. Them, I curse out and block. None of them helped me when I was pregnant against my will. The biological father is on the registry and cannot be near kids before you ask. Now for the top comments before reading the update. So they adopted him thinking you'd come around eventually and be the mother? Well, they messed up and now have to live with the consequences they helped create. When OP constantly, during and after the pregnancy, said that she wanted nothing to do with that kid due to terrible biological circumstances. OP wanted nothing to do with the POS who hurt her. They made her give birth to that person's child, and they legally adopted him when she wanted to place him elsewhere, away from her. Thus, that is their child to raise, not OP's. I'm so sorry for what happened to you, and I'm doubly pissed at what your parents made you endure against your will. Your parents adopted and raised your brother to be the little lazy tyrant he is, probably feeling sorry for him, and now they're having to deal with what they've sown. You're not the a-hole. This is your brother, and from your description, you do not live close enough to your parents to provide help even if you wanted to. It's time for your siblings to step up. The next time they mention this is your mess, remind them that you were the victim 3 times over. By your assailant, by your parents who threatened to stop funding your college education if you chose to terminate or use the safe haven law, and then by your parents again by adopting the child, making it too emotionally traumatic to return home. As a psychiatrist who works with traumatized adults, I sincerely hope you have sought counseling, and I would honestly encourage going low to no contact with your siblings to help lessen your trauma. Thank you. I am in therapy and have been for a long time. First at my college, then through a victims fund, and now on my own. I am not okay yet. I'll probably never be okay with what happened, but I'm getting better. What you survived is primarily a nervous system injury. This is why the symptoms are so persistent and pervasive. You can definitely get better. I will say neurobiology is far ahead in understanding trauma and effective treatments. Start researching. Therapy is important support. Nervous system treatments are curative. I was conceived in rape. They should have let you adopt the baby out, period. I am so sorry they didn't do that, and I am so sorry you had this experience. Under the circumstances, not the a-hole. The fact that your siblings won't help says a lot. I feel bad for you and for the boy, but this is not your fault. My oldest brother is already a grandfather. He doesn't want a 12-year-old. Now for the update. Thank you all for finally giving me the motivation to tell my story to my family and to cut ties with my parents. I did as many of you suggested, and I wrote everything out. I explained that I had been violently assaulted and raped, that my parents, who were my only support, told me they would kick me out, stop paying for my education, and remove me from their health insurance if I took Plan B. I further explained that when I found out I was pregnant from the ordeal, they once again coerced me in the same way into carrying the fetus to term, and how they insisted on adopting him after I stated that I never wanted to see him again. I wanted him put up for a closed adoption, but they would not relent. I then added pictures of me from the hospital, blood, bruises, missing teeth, a shattered face, everything. I also included a recent picture of myself with my orbital prosthesis removed so everyone could see the permanent damage. I posted everything to the family group chat. I included that I now consider the matter closed and have decided to completely cut myself off from all of them. It was my New Year's gift to myself and my mental health. I have received messages and emails from family members using unknown numbers and addresses, telling me that they didn't know about all of this and that they are sorry. I blocked those news sources. I'm just done. I honestly did not have the strength to do this until you all gave it to me. Thank you. So 13 years ago, you were so violently assaulted and beaten that you lost an eye, yet none of your relatives knew about it? My parents told everyone I was in a car accident. I can't believe they wouldn't even let you take a plan B. I'm so sorry nobody was there for you at such a devastating time in your life, especially your parents. I'm proud of you for being so strong. Spiritual hug. They are part of a cult. There may come times when you second-guess yourself, so I want you to remember, you owe no one a sacrifice because of decisions they made, most especially decisions made against you. OP's parents gambled, hoping the mom gene would kick in, and there'd be a happy ending and they'd all go to church together. Next story. Am I the a-hole for how I reacted when I found out my husband used some of my son's treatment money to buy a Christmas present for my stepson? It's a long story, but I'll try my best to make it short. My son Jamie, 16, has been having medical issues for a few months now. Without revealing too much information for privacy reasons, the treatment involves monthly payments. I have a decent paying job, not high paying but good enough, and I've been using my money to pay for his treatment. My husband has not contributed to it, but he's been handling everything else, like groceries and bills. I have an 18-year-old stepson, Louis. He's the type who likes expensive gifts, and his father has always gotten him something big for birthdays and holidays. For his birthday, he got him a new car. For Christmas, he wanted a motorbike. You know, one of those expensive ones. He told his dad about it at the beginning of 2025 so he could save money to buy it. My husband was determined to get it, especially since Louis was going to leave for college. I wasn't concerned because it didn't affect our budget. However, when Jamie got sick, things changed. My husband said he couldn't save money anymore since he now had to pay for everything while I handled the treatment payments. For context, we have a shared account. He complained about not being able to get Louis the gift he wanted for Christmas and was low-key blaming me. But I brushed it off. I was focused on my son and didn't need drama. I was surprised to find out that he did manage to buy Louis the motorbike. I asked where he got the money, and he said he borrowed it from friends. I believed him. Then I checked the account and found that $2,000 had been withdrawn. I knew. I just knew. I confronted him and absolutely went off on him, calling him a few choice words that I'm not proud to mention here. I told him he should be ashamed of himself for what he did, especially since Jamie needs the money for treatment. He defended himself, saying he'd been helping a lot and taking care of everything, so he was just as affected by Jamie's illness as I was. He also said that he had been saving money, but had to spend it on extra things after I stopped contributing. I yelled at him, called him selfish, and told him to leave. He then tried to call Louis and managed to spin it into, "Your stepmom was angry because I got you the motorbike," basically driving a wedge between me and Louis. I haven't talked to Louis since then, and he's clearly mad at me. His father has been staying in a rental for days now. I feel completely devastated. I don't know if I handled this properly. He keeps talking about how much he sacrificed and how I've been treating him like crap. Stepson has a car but needs a motorbike? I think he's a spoiled brat. You're absolutely right, but I didn't want to mention this because my husband would have twisted it and said that I don't want Louis to get a nice gift. It's exhausting how he keeps making assumptions about every single thing. That man stole from you and your son, lied to you about it, and then made you the bad guy. I think the relationship is over at this point. At a minimum, separate your finances. Your son's medical treatment must be the priority. If I were you, I'd consider divorce and possibly pressing charges for theft. What an absolutely immoral thing for him to do. And for his awful son to agree with him? Why tie yourself to people who value a pointless gift over your son's health? I wanted to do that initially, but he strongly opposed it. He kept talking about how separating finances is the first step towards actual separation. That's rich coming from him. He wants continued access so he can spend frivolously. This is pretty serious OP. When the dust settles, consider having a serious conversation with him about the fallout of his actions. The thing is, he doesn't even spend much on himself, just on Louis. You might think I have some embedded resentment toward Louis, but I don't. He's spoiled, but I firmly believe that's his father's fault. He's had huge problems with Louis' mom in the past, and I think the spoiling is because he wants to keep Louis on his good side. They also have a daughter together whom he has no contact with because he says his ex alienated her from him. It's complicated, but I tried to give you the full picture of the situation. Next story. Hurt and disrespected by adult children on Christmas and my birthday. Now I'm charging them rent. For background, my oldest has had a full-time professional job for 3 years and lives with me and my mother rent-free. There is a hefty student loan they are struggling to pay, so my mother and I help as much as possible by giving money when they are short. My youngest is still in college, so obviously they are living with us rent-free, and we also supplement with cash as we are able. They do have a part-time job. My mother and I have also co-signed both kids' student loans. The eldest has defaulted on the loans, and it destroyed my credit as well as my mom's. Yet they both managed to buy weed, video games, skiing equipment, lavish gifts for their romantic partners, etc., etc. Yes, this is an enabling situation. It finally hit me on Christmas. My oldest gave both me and my mother homemade cards written in crayon for Christmas. My youngest gave me salt and pepper shakers that he regifted to me from a white elephant exchange he went to. Incidentally, they gave me salt and pepper shakers for Christmas 3 years ago. Is there a meaning to it? I have no idea. Anyway, they both cited a lack of funds. I let it all slide in order to continue with Christmas Day and keep the peace. Fast forward 4 days, and it's my birthday. My youngest gave me nothing. My oldest gave me a book on trees. This was shortly after they both returned from a shopping spree with their Christmas money, all gifts for themselves, and were showing it off to me like it was something great. Well, I lost it. I vented a lot of hurt and anger and told them how insulted both their grandma and I were, and that from now on, they needed to pay rent. I definitely said some harsh things that I regret too. So they packed up some things and are now staying with their dad and not speaking to me. Am I the a-hole here? The fact that the eldest defaulted on loans you and your mother co-signed is the real red flag here. They didn't just forget a gift, they actively tanked your financial future while buying ski gear. Moving to their dad's is the best thing that could happen. Let him deal with the entitlement for a while. Watch how fast they want to come back when he asks for a utility bill payment. And OP grandma and the son will have the government coming after them to collect on the defaulted loans. It's a new thing going into effect this month, I believe. Anyone that's defaulted on a loan will now have their wages garnished. Not the a-hole. It's unfortunate that dad would enable this behavior. Unless he had your back on the valid points of what you said to them. I don't know if he's backing me or not, but I think that he is now using his girlfriend to co-sign loans for my youngest. He might start to realize that the kids take advantage of us. Time for dad to feel the pinch of the enabled kids. Wait till his credit is shot and he's not even getting a thank you. You're not the a-hole, but I'm sad you didn't see this pattern sooner. Don't regret it. Let them live their lives now. They're old enough to go out there now in the big world. The fact that they trashed your credit? Yeah, they can pay rent now. A 1-bedroom, 1-bath is around $2,700 a month. I told them $250 a month and they will need to use a laundromat. It was so horrific to them that they moved out. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to punish my son in front of his vice principal? My 12-year-old son, who I'll call Noah, recently got in trouble at school, and the vice principal wanted me to meet her in her office to discuss what happened. My wife wasn't available to come. Apparently, he started a physical altercation with another student, Jake, which I found hard to believe because Noah is a very well-behaved kid. While I understand my son might not tell me the whole truth, he says Jake was being very rude and calling his girl pals some pretty awful names, which I won't repeat. Jake wouldn't stop, so Noah shoved him hard. Jake fell to the ground, then got back up and they got into a brawl. I was very ready to accept the school's discipline for Noah, but I wanted to have a private conversation with him at home about how he should, whenever possible, avoid violence, while also telling him that I was proud of him for sticking up for his friends. What was strange, though, was that the vice principal asked me with my son in the room to directly scold him and give him a consequence for his unacceptable behavior. I politely refused, saying that while my son's behavior was wrong, I would prefer to have a conversation with him about it privately. She told me it was important that he understand the gravity of his behavior and that I needed to reprimand him in front of her. I again assured her that I would handle it. This is where I think she really crossed the line. She said that I was not taking Noah's behavior seriously, which I found ridiculous, since he has only been in trouble with the office once before, for violating the dress code with some friends. I walked out of the office and took Noah home, saying we could continue the conversation later. At home, I received an email from the vice principal stating that I do not respect her authority and that they would be taking administrative action, which would most likely mean detention. I feel bad because maybe I caused Noah to receive a harsher punishment than he otherwise would have for disrespecting the vice principal. It's a private school, so my options to appeal any unfair treatment are limited, and I'm not sure whether the principal would have a more favorable stance. But I also think it's disrespectful of her to say that I don't respect her authority, when I very much do. I would accept any reasonable consequences the school gives my son, but she is not respecting my authority to parent my own son privately. When my wife came home, she agreed with me that the vice principal crossed a line, but she said I should just fake an apology to her, although I'd rather not. Noah maintains his innocence and thinks that even detention would be unfair. So since I'm not sure, Reddit, am I the a-hole? You should have asked what action was being taken for the other child. They not only started it by provoking your son, but were also fighting. Was the vice principal undermining the other child's authority as a parent? Good point. I really hope she's not letting him off looser. Although if she did, it might give me grounds to report the vice principal to the superintendent for discrimination or something like that. Forward her email to someone above her. You are well within your right as a parent to have a conversation with your son in private and without someone spectating it like it's a sport. Not the a-hole. Also well within rights to discuss any consequences at home with the other parent first for serious things like this, before issuing any orders at the son. Given that this is an unexpected situation, this is so unreasonable of the vice principal that I'm wondering if it can be real, but experience tells me to fear it may well be.